everybody, time for some more Multiverses speculation. This video is part 2 of basically catching up on what's been going on with Multiverses speculation during Season 2. If you haven't watched the first part, I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video. That first video is mostly me talking about the Game Awards and how a character was not revealed there, even though I had been saying I had heard one would get revealed there. It's a pretty long video, but there are some other interesting things I mention and talk about in there besides just the Game Awards reveal not happening. This video, though, is going to be more focused on data mines and leaks and rumors and what I think the future of the Multiverses game is going to look like. Specifically, character speculation for the future and who I think will get added to the game and leaks and stuff I've heard. Okay, so before I do that, quick disclaimer and potential spoiler warning first. Everything I talk about in this video is just speculation. Nothing is certain about this game, and no matter how definitive I talk about things, either a leak or a data mine or whatever, they are just rumors until officially confirmed. Rumors we are just discussing for fun. But if any of this stuff does come true, well, here's your spoiler warning now. Alright, so to quickly sum up a few key important takeaway points from the last video, the character I had heard was supposed to be revealed at the Game Awards was the Joker. I drew this picture of my recollection of what the Joker should look like in Multiverses, or what he looked like when I saw him anyway. I don't really know when exactly we'll get the Joker, or when any characters will happen for sure. I also don't know for sure if the Joker is the next character or not, though I assume he'll happen soon and is likely to be the next character we get. The other main takeaway from my last video is that so far things seem to have been pretty chaotic behind the scenes making Multiverses, and they often seem to change their plans around, and did not have a clear roadmap or schedule for where this game was heading. So with that kind of erratic planning happening behind the scenes, banking for sure on any leaks or rumors or data mines, even if it is real information, is just tough to do with this game. Things can always change. Hopefully, the relatively slowed down pace and lack of character releases so far with Season 2 has given them a chance to plan out the future of this game. I hope they can get on track with that content, and I hope they set up some kind of pace and schedule and plan out exactly when they'll be releasing content for us in the future. Alright, I think that sums up the major themes of my last video. Joker is the character I heard probably next, but Multiverses is chaotic behind the scenes, so I can't be certain. Alright, so let's jump into this video's main topics. Data mines, rumors, and leaks. We had two big events over the last few months here in Season 2. First was the Festiverses event, and right now there's a Lunar New Year's event. The latest event, the Lunar New Year, didn't have any interesting data mined information attached to it, sadly. However, the Festiverses event had a lot of interesting data mine stuff. So let's talk about it and go over the data mines. During the Festiverses, we got this snowball fight Silly Q. Apparently, in the same area of the game's code as the snowball was an ice wall. Actually, an ice wall kind of reminds me of the Wall from Game of Thrones, and Tony did use the Winter is Coming motto of House Stark to hint at the Winter event. And of course, the Iron Throne room stage that we got. There's a Scooby Snacks item that apparently does damage similar to Shaggy's sandwich attack. There was also a boomerang item found in the game's code. I honestly often forget this game even has items, though I do hope more get added. And with a boomerang item in the game's code, maybe this could be good news for one day being able to play as myself in Multiverses. I'm just kidding, but seriously, I feel like I really need to cosplay Captain Boomerang from the new Suicide Squad game at some point. The similarities, especially with the hat and everything, are not lost on me. Other items found in the data mine were supposedly an exploding egg item and something referred to as Dino Spit Projectile. Unsure if that could be a Flintstones related thing? I don't know what other series would make sense for something called Dino Spit Projectile. Fred Flintstone was speculated a lot in the early days of Multiverses data mines and speculation and leaks and stuff, but I have not heard anything about Flintstones content myself, though I would like to see it one day. Apparently there's a slick floor item that makes a spot on the ground icy, or at least slippery. And then most interesting of the data mined items, in my opinion, is this car wheel item. This item actually transforms the player's character into either the Mystery Machine or the Batmobile. And potentially in the future they could add more possible vehicles from other series and attach them to this item. So this item could turn you into other vehicles maybe or something. This explains why in earlier data mines there was stuff found about driving the Batmobile. And on the note of the Batman franchise stuff found in the code, we now do have some data mined information pointing towards the Joker. indicating he is indeed being worked on and likely the next fighter, like I've been saying. Sound effects for his walking were added into the game, and a new string of code labeled Joker Cards was also found. Joker Cards is likely for a future Joker ringout. Also in the code, Smile and Laugh Smile are probably upcoming Joker-themed ringouts as well. I had mentioned last video how it's a shame the Joker wasn't ready in time for a December release, because he's often been associated with the holiday in several Batman iterations that I've seen anyway. But with the wheel item summoning the Batmobile and an exploding egg item found in the code, it reminds me of that parody song of Jingle Bells. Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg, Batmobile lost a wheel, and Joker got away. Would have fit really well to have the Joker and an egg item and the Batmobile item all show up in Multiverses for Christmas. Honestly, I think that might have been the plan at one time. Alright, well that's it for data mine stuff. Like I said, the Lunar event really didn't have any data mines. So now let's talk about some interesting tweets for the game. The first one comes from the game's director, Tony Hyun. It just says, swinging from grapple hooks. In the past, weird tweets like this from Tony have been hints at future characters or things headed to the game anyway. Since I heard the Joker was likely the next character we'd get, and since grappling hooks are sort of a staple of Batman's arsenal, I immediately assumed it was somehow connected to the Joker. This is probably a hint for the Joker. But the Joker doesn't use a grappling hook himself. He does, however, often swing from them. Here's Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight, who at the end of the movie is left swinging from Batman's grappling hook. I did see a lot of people guessing at Robin, who would make sense as another grappling hook user like Batman, but given everything I had heard about the Joker and what we now know about the Joker from data mines, I think this grapple hook thing is almost certainly a hint at the Joker and not Robin. Now, while I do think the grapple hooks thing from Tony is probably a Joker reference somehow, there is another interesting theory for who this could refer to. In the game's code, there is a string labeled Goonies that was found. Most people seem to assume, including myself, if a Goonies character was ever added to Multiverses, it would probably be Sloth. However, the character Data has a grappling hook of sorts, the Pinchers of Peril. Plus, another gadget he has are his slick shoes, which could fit with the slippery floor item we found in the code. I've personally heard nothing about the Goonies myself coming to Multiverses, besides knowing that there is something in the data mines that is labeled Goonies. Though I have to admit, I think I like the idea of Data and all his crazy contraptions better than getting Sloth if we did get a Goonies character. Sloth, I feel like, would only be a very basic strongman brawler type moveset, whereas Data has a really cool moveset to pull from with all his gadgets. But no idea if Goonies is getting a character in the game, or a stage, or anything. I've heard nothing myself about Goonies. So I'm inclined to believe the swinging from grapple hooks tweet from Tony is a Joker hint, but hard to know for sure with Tony's cryptic tweets. Okay, so when will we get the next character, whether it's the Joker or not? Well, way back in November, Tony wrote, there will be more characters in Season 2. Characters, plural. But we are pretty far into Season 2, and so far we only have Marvin the Martian. Hopefully, this relatively slow-paced Season 2 has them gearing up for the future, and maybe we'll see a return to a steadier pace by Season 3. On the 12th of this month, Tony responded to someone asking when we'd get a new character, and wrote back, soonish, but that was 2 weeks ago. On the 13th of this month, Nakat assured everyone a lot was being worked on. And on the 14th, Tony wrote, testing out one of our future characters, and it's insanely fun. So they at least have someone, if not potentially multiple characters, in the testing phase already. Well, the Joker wasn't the only character I had heard about that was probably happening relatively soon. I had mentioned how they wanted to start adding more female characters to the game, and that we'd likely see some non-Datamine characters fairly soon. Specifically, I said I heard Marceline the Vampire Queen from Adventure Time was a female character they wanted to add soon. I'd been hinting at and hearing about Marceline happening for the game for a while now. For instance, here's a post from Lysel where they credit me for the Marceline info. Well, recently Tony wrote this on Twitter. Just curious, and I 100% not saying she's in, but what would the default outfit for Marceline in Multiverses be? I'm serious when I'm saying I'm not saying anything, I was just wondering. Tony then put up a poll about which Marceline outfit would fit best for her default skin. This is basically a soft confirmation of Marceline happening at some point for Multiverses, despite what Tony's saying that it absolutely doesn't confirm her. Especially since I was already hearing they wanted to add her. Olivia Olson, the voice of Marceline, actually posted some images of her recording for something a couple months ago. Perhaps it was recording new lines for Marceline in Multiverses. So will we get the Joker followed up by Marceline as our next two characters? I don't know. Character order is very tough to guess at, but I'm thinking within the next handful of characters, a very safe bet would be the Joker and Marceline. I think they're highly likely to show up among, again, the next couple characters. Another interesting development over on Twitter involving Multiverses and Adventure Time was this post about Jake lines in Multiverses that apparently plays when winning against either Cake or Fiona. Well, on January 25th, MVS Dwonks wrote that this had been taken down due to copyright. Could just be a random copyright claim, or it might be an indication a Fiona variant could be coming to Multiverses very soon. Fiona and Cake are getting their own Adventure Time spin-off series at some point this year. Also, I talked about this last video, but I could really see it happening, so I think it's worth mentioning again. Last month, they gave a lot of attention and fanfare to the Man in Black, The Rock movie Black Adam variant costume, almost treating it like a brand new character. And I could see them potentially doing this more often going forward, giving skins or variants more attention or being treated as if we're getting a new character, especially if the wait times between character releases stays somewhat slow. And I could see Fiona being the sort of variant that they could give this sort of attention to. Or like I mentioned last video, something like Nubia. Nubia was a character that was in the game's code as their own fighter. It was kind of weird, even though they seemed like they'd fit better as a Wonder Woman variant or something. We had that trademark for Big Chungus a while back too. Not clear if that meant Big Chungus is actually coming to Multiverses in some form or what, but if, say, it was a Bugs Bunny variant, I could see it getting the sort of attention the Man in Black, The Rock, Black Adam variant got. Fiona, Nubia, Big Chungus, etc. I could really see those kinds of variants and skins getting highlighted in some way to buffer character releases, because they'd be treated like a new character coming to the game, even though they're just variants or skins or whatever, however they do them. Another tweet definitely worth mentioning was posted back on the 1st of the year. The Walter White for Multiverses Twitter account wrote, "The only way I'll have a good 2023 is if we see Walter White join Multiverses that year." Dan Eder, a senior character artist for Multiverses, responded with, "Expect good things." Now, I personally have not heard anything about Walter White myself. However, the fan buzz to get him in the game is definitely out there. With a tweet like that, it certainly is looking pretty hopeful right now. And I will say, I have heard some crazy out there character names that have been discussed by the developers. The sort of stuff you might not expect would get into Multiverses. Things we'd probably call third-party characters if this was Super Smash Bros. Except instead of third-party characters being non-Nintendo, it would be non-Warner Bros. Characters. Now, the characters I'm showing here in this image are just some out there characters to give you an idea of the sort of characters I mean. Not saying whether any of these specific characters are the names of characters I've heard being discussed by developers or not. Just think stuff like this, for example. Characters people wanted for Smash but didn't make it in the end. Or cartoon characters from non-WB owned properties, characters owned by other companies or on other non-WB channels. That's the sort of thing I mean when I say out there, unexpected characters. And I don't really know if any of the out there characters I have heard that were discussed will ever actually end up coming to fruition in the end or not. Getting a third-party out there character obviously would have more hoops to jump through to get in the game than a WB-owned character. Even if the devs decide they did want to try and actually get some of the ones they've discussed into the game, I don't know if it would actually happen in the end. And if they did get the go-ahead to make one of their third-party characters, I wouldn't expect them to happen anytime soon. It'll probably take a little while. Maybe before the end of the year, I could potentially see some out there third-party character choices actually showing up in Multiverses, though. So because I have heard some names that have been discussed that are out there third-party character choices, I wouldn't count out something pretty out there like Walter White from actually happening for Multiverses. Definitely expect the unexpected with this game, at least when thinking about the game a ways out, like a year from now or whatever. Speaking of somewhat unexpected stuff, RWBY is getting a crossover movie with Justice League, apparently. I know the Multiverses team does want to add anime characters at some point. No specific characters, just anime itself they'd like to add to the game. And RWBY is a WB-owned anime, so definitely possible, especially now it's already had a DC crossover. This crossover movie could be a good sign of RWBY potentially happening for Multiverses. Though to be clear, I have not heard anything about RWBY specifically coming to Multiverses. I just know that the devs have expressed they'd be interested in adding anime stuff to Multiverses at some point if possible. Alright, so in part 1 I said I would be more subtle about anything I hear for this game from now on, and I won't just outright say who or what I've been hearing going forward. However, right now I'm just going to lay out a few things I've already been saying or hinting towards. After this though, any info or leaks I hear I'll likely just be keeping to myself, or at most subtly hinting at, mixing into my general speculation or whatever. Okay, so I had heard there'd be a Game Awards reveal and it would be the Joker. Obviously, we did not get a Game Awards character revealed, but the Joker now has data mined info going for him, so he's likely happening very soon. Probably the next character, but I can't say for certain. Here's my drawing of my recollection of what he looked like when I saw him. And while I haven't seen like a finished trailer for the Joker, I have heard it supposedly involves Batman walking down like a hallway or walking forward or something, with other characters falling in defeat. At one point, Shaggy supposedly crawls and reaches for his sandwich, and at the end, the Joker emerges from like the shadows or smoke or something, and says something to the effect of, "Let's play, time to play, it's playtime," something like that. Also, guild dungeons might show up with him, but I can't promise that for certain. Probably matters if they finish them in time or not, whether or not they show up alongside the Joker. I also heard they wanted to add a female character soon. The name I specifically heard was Marceline, the Vampire Queen from Adventure Time. And now we've seen Tony mention her on Twitter specifically. Whether she's after the next character or not, I don't know. But if I had to guess at the order, my guess right now would be Joker next, followed by Marceline. But the order is really hard to guess at, so I don't know for sure. Okay, so Marceline was the female character name I heard, but I also heard Warner Bros. Wanted them to add Harry Potter stuff to Multiverses. Specifically, I heard they were considering Hermione. Again, probably because they wanted to start adding more female characters to the game, and Hermione would be an opportunity to do that, while also representing the franchise WB wants them to add, Harry Potter. The next big WB game right now is Hogwarts Legacy, a Harry Potter game. It already has crazy pre-order numbers and is shaping up to be one of the year's biggest games. So I'm unsure if WB wanting Harry Potter stuff in Multiverses was just an attempt to cross-promote Hogwarts Legacy. Right now we are already nearly in February and we don't have the Joker released yet, if he is the next character. So I highly doubt they'd get a Harry Potter character done in time to cross-promote Hogwarts Legacy. But it's possible the order could go Joker followed by Hermione as the female character, missing the mark for releasing close to Hogwarts Legacy, but maybe within a month or so of it. It's also equally possible the whole idea of adding Harry Potter stuff to Multiverses gets shelved for now since they've likely missed the time frame to cross-promote Hogwarts Legacy. I really don't know how this will all play out. I just know WB wanted them to add Harry Potter stuff to Multiverses. It's also possible due to the controversy surrounding the Harry Potter series these days, WB could change their minds about wanting to add it to Multiverses. Though again, considering the sales numbers for Hogwarts Legacy right now, if that game proves the Harry Potter series is still highly marketable, I could see them doubling down on actually wanting Harry Potter stuff to show up in Multiverses. Anyway, it's really hard to say what will happen with this one. Whether Harry Potter stuff will show up really soon, or if it will be a long while from now, or maybe they even back away from it. Just know I heard WB wanted Harry Potter stuff in Multiverses, and I heard Hermione was the considered character at one point. Alright, well, a character I know for sure is happening for Multiverses is Samurai Jack. He'll be voiced by Phil LaMarr, lines have already been recorded. And code in the game files for an Aku's Lair stage was already found. Supposedly, Aku's Lair appears to be a modified version of the Mordor stage, when Lord of the Rings stuff was planned for Multiverses. This is similar to how Gandalf's Eagle move was repurposed into Morty's spaceship move. So, will Lord of the Rings stuff ever come to Multiverses? I certainly hope so, I really want Gandalf, and I know the devs want to add it if it can be negotiated for, though likely Gandalf will be heavily reworked, just like Rick was, before being released into the game, if they do get the rights to actually use Lord of the Rings stuff. Alright, so as for when we should expect to see Samurai Jack actually show up in the game, I know he's the fan-demanded character that they pushed forward in development, so they definitely want to add him as soon as possible. But considering the pace they've been moving at lately, and how they want a female rep, and we still have to get the Joker in the game, I'd say Jack is likely probably going to show up around the end of, my guess would be like Season 3, or potentially sometime in Season 4 even or something. Still, I'd expect Jack to show up at least within the next couple of seasons at some point. He's definitely on the way, but when exactly, I don't know. And then the final thing I'm going to say definitively that I've heard about is the WB Lot stage. I'm guessing it'll be the next stage we see, but I don't know that for sure. However, I can say definitively it will have Animaniacs references on it. Now that doesn't mean Animaniacs characters are happening anytime soon. They certainly could happen sometime soon, but I haven't heard anything about that. But I also wouldn't count them out just because the stage will have references to Animaniacs stuff from the show on it. Alright, so I do know about a few other characters they have planned that weren't among the data mined character names. But I won't say who specifically I've heard. Again, I'm going to keep stuff to myself going forward for the most part. But I'll just say I've heard multiple Cartoon Network characters who they're definitely planning to add into the game. But whether they happen anytime soon, I don't know. If I had to guess, they're likely a ways out there. Some could even take until like the end of the year or something before they actually show up in the game. But I will say, just like when I heard about Marceline and Samurai Jack, the other Cartoon Network characters I've heard about are really good choices, and I'm happy to hear they're coming to the game. Honestly, there are so many characters I'd love to see from Cartoon Network. I mean, this whole game could have been a Cartoon Network platform fighter, and we'd have had a big enough pool of characters to sustain the game on just Cartoon Network stuff alone. And with that in mind, I wonder what the best way to go about repping all of these shows would be for Multiverses. Because a lot of these shows lend themselves really well for multiple characters in one style fighters. Like what we got with Tom and Jerry, or how Ice Climbers work in Super Smash Bros. And the thing is, it would likely take a really long time to add all the Cartoon Network shows I want to see in this game, let alone each specific character I'd love to see in this game over time if we do them one at a time, especially at the pace we've been going lately. Like just for example, Mordecai and Rigby, you could choose to add just Mordecai, or just Rigby, or you could choose to do Mordecai and Rigby as a character. That way we don't have to wait to get the other one in the game. They'd release together as a 2-in-1 character. However, conversely, separating them could mean that we might eventually get both of them, which might be the better way to do it. Maybe makes more sense to have them alone, because they'd have their own moveset potential individually that they could bring to the table, and they have their own personality and stuff, and some people are fans of one of them and not so much the other. It's a tough call what you do with these Cartoon Network characters. And there's lots of Cartoon Network characters this sort of choice can actually apply to. Mac and Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. You could just do Blue alone, or you could go with both Mac and Blue as a 2-in-1 character. Gumball and Darwin. Again, you could go with just Gumball, or just Darwin, or you could add both of them at once. Flapjack and Captain Knuckles, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel and IR Baboon, Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi. There are so many that could go either way, and there's pros and cons to separating them or making them duos for sure. Billy and Mandy could be a duo, or Billy and Mandy could be separate, or Billy and Mandy and Grimm as a trio, or you could just go with Grimm alone. Lots of options there. Speaking of potential trio characters, Powerpuff Girls would make a great multi-3-in-1 fighter. Of course, you could also do them separately, but that would then take 3 separate character releases before we got all of them. Ed, Edd, and Eddy are the same way. They work alone, but could also work really well as a 3-in-1 fighter. Bear Bears, same deal, or to get really obscure, Time Squad. And what about stuff like Codename Kids Next Door? Do you add each of them individually, or do you add them all at once? And do you make these 3-in-1 fighters sort of the same as like Tom and Jerry, just with 3 characters? Or do you go the Pokemon Trainer route with these type of fighters? Release them together as one, but with a swap-out mechanic, making them kind of individual fighters. Just a lot of possibilities to go with here. Not exactly a Cartoon Network show, but rather an Adult Swim show that would work well for this concept too is Aqua Teen Hunger Force. They actually just got renewed for a 12th season. Would I want them to just add Shake, or just Frylock, or just Meatwad alone, or make them a 3-in-1 character to get all 3 at once? It's a tough call. I think some characters I'd prefer to have alone. I'd really like it that way. Others I'd be fine with getting the whole group all at once. Just interesting how many Cartoon Network shows fit the bill for these style characters we could potentially get. But my guess is, in some instances, we'll probably get individual characters, and in other instances, they'll probably group them. Alright, and then the last thing I just feel like I should probably mention, Justin Roiland got let go from Adult Swim and will no longer be voicing Rick and Morty. Tony retweeted Adult Swim's announcement of this, so likely getting unique Rick and Morty voice lines recorded for Multiverses isn't going to happen anytime soon. Probably not until they recast the show's main characters here, I'd imagine. Actually kind of crazy how many controversial things, how much controversy surrounding stuff attached to Multiverses has been getting lately. Harry Potter, of course, has controversy, and I've been hearing it's coming to the game at some point. Scooby-Doo is pretty controversial with the new Velma show. Now there's all this Justin Roiland controversy, and he's not going to voice Rick and Morty anymore. I've even seen Mark Hamill, the future voice of our Joker character for Multiverses, under some controversy related to J.K. Rowling Harry Potter stuff the last couple days. Just seems like everywhere I turn lately, there's some controversy that's related to WB, and by extension, somewhat related to Multiverses. Not expressing any opinion on any of that stuff, really, just pointing out how much of it's been happening lately. Just seems like it's been one thing after the other everywhere I look. Is Warner Brothers cursed or something? I don't know. Well, I won't be foolish enough to try and lay out a potential calendar for the rest of Season 2 or into Season 3. Seems impossible to guess at that stuff, especially at the pace we're going. Hopefully we get the next character soon, before the end of Season 2, but if it dips into Season 3, oh well, and my guess for that character would be the Joker. If we end up getting a variant with a lot of attention or something instead to tide us over, I don't know, that could happen. But Joker is coming, hopefully very soon, and hopefully the next character. After that, it's really anyone's guess, but I hope the information I put out here sheds some light on the future of this game to some extent, or at least gives you an idea of a few of the characters we should be expecting at some point. Alright, well thanks for watching, guys. If you have any thoughts or comments about any of the stuff I talked about in this video, feel free to leave a comment below.
Remember to like the video, leave a comment in the section below, and subscribe to Papa Gino's!
Twitter, Patreon, Discord, Twitch.